The 2015-16 UEFA Champions League qualifying phase and playoff round began on the 30th of June and ended on the 26th of August 2015. A total of 56 teams competed in the qualifying phase and playoff round to decide 10 of the 32 places in the group stage of the 2015-16 UEFA Champions League. All times were CEST, round and draw dates. All draws were held at UEFA headquarters in Lyon, Switzerland. Format: in the qualifying phase and playoff round, each tie was played over 2 legs, with each team playing 1 leg at home. The team that scored more goals on aggregate over the 2 legs advanced to the next round. If the aggregate score was level, the away goals rule was applied, i.e., the team that scored more goals away from home over the 2 legs advanced. If away goals were also equal, then 30 minutes of extra time was played, divided into 2 15-minute halves. The away goals rule was again applied after extra time, i.e., if there were goals scored during extra time and the aggregate score was still level, the visiting team advanced by virtue of more away goals scored. If no goals were scored during extra time, the tie was decided by penalty shootout. In the draws for each round, teams were seeded based on the UEFA club coefficients at the beginning of the season, with the teams divided into seeded and unseeded pots. A seeded team was drawn against an unseeded team, with the order of legs in each tie decided by draw. Due to the limited time between matches, the draws for the second and third qualifying rounds took place before the results of the previous round were known. For these draws, the seeding was carried out under the assumption that the team with the higher coefficient of an undecided tie advanced to this round, which means if the team with the lower coefficient was to advance, it simply took the seeding of its defeated opponent. Prior to the draws, UEFA formed groups in accordance with the principles set by the Club Competitions Committee, but they were purely for convenience of the draw and for ensuring that teams from the same association were not drawn against each other, and did not resemble any real groupings in the sense of the competition teams. There were 2 routes which the teams were separated into during qualifying. Champions route, which included all domestic champions which had not qualified for the group stage. League route, which included all domestic non-champions which had not qualified for the group stage. A total of 56 teams were involved in the qualifying phase and playoff round. The 10 winners of the playoff round advanced to the group stage to join the 22 teams which entered in the group stage. The 15 losers of the third qualifying round entered the Europa League playoff round, and the 10 losers of the playoff round entered the Europa League group stage. Below are the participating teams, grouped by the starting rounds. First qualifying round. Seeding: a total of 8 teams played in the first qualifying round. The draw was held on the 22nd of June 2015. Summary: the first legs were played on the 30th of June and the 1st of July, and the second legs were played on the 7th of July 2015. Matches: Lincoln Red Imps 1-2-1 on aggregate, 1-1 on aggregate. Crusaders 1 on away goals. Punic 1-4-2 on aggregate. The New Saints 1-6-2 on aggregate. Second qualifying round. Seeding: a total of 34 teams played in the second qualifying round. 30 teams which entered in this round, and the 4 winners of the first qualifying round. The draw was held on the 22nd of June 2015. Notes: Summary: the first legs were played on 14 and the 15th of July, and the second legs were played on 21 and the 22nd of July 2015. Notes: Matches: Maccabi Tel Aviv 1-6-3 on aggregate, 1-1 on aggregate. Apoel 1 on away goals. Karabag 1-1-0 in aggregate. Lech Poznan won 3-0 in aggregate. Astana won 3-2 on aggregate. Bate Borisov won 2-1 on aggregate. HJK won 4-1 on aggregate. Midtjylland won 3-0 in aggregate. Molde won 5-1 on aggregate. Malmö FF won 1-0 in aggregate. Celtic won 6-1 on aggregate. Sture Bucuresti won 4-3 on aggregate. Partizan won 3-0 in aggregate. Milsami Orhei won 3-1 on aggregate. Dinamo Zagreb won 4-1 on aggregate. Skanderbeo Kors won 6-4 on aggregate. Videoton won 2-1 on aggregate. Third qualifying round. Seeding. The third qualifying round was split into two separate sections, Champions Route and League Route. The losing teams in both sections entered the 2015-16 UEFA Europa League play-off round. A total of 30 teams played in the third qualifying round. Champions Route, 3 teams which entered in this round, and the 17 winners of the second qualifying round. League Route, 10 teams which entered in this round. The draw was held on the 17th of July 2015. Notes summary. The first legs were played on 28 and the 29th of July, and the second legs were played on 4 and the 5th of August 2015. Matches. Basel won 4-1 on aggregate. Skanderbeo Kors won 4-0 in aggregate. Astana won 4-3 on aggregate. Celtic won 1-0 in aggregate. Partizan won 5-3 on aggregate. 2-2 on aggregate. Apoel won on away goals. Maccabi Tel Aviv won 3-2 on aggregate. 4-4 on aggregate. Dinamo Zagreb won on away goals. Bate Borisov won 2-1 on aggregate. Malmö won 3-2 on aggregate. Club Brugge won 4-2 on aggregate. Monaco won 7-1 on aggregate. CSKA Moscow won 5-4 on aggregate. Rapid Wien won 5-4 on aggregate. Shakhtar Donetsk won 3-0 in aggregate. Playoff round. Seeding. The playoff round was split into two separate sections, Champions Route and League Route. The losing teams in both sections entered the 2015-16 UEFA Europa League group stage. A total of 20 teams played in the playoff round. Champions Route. The 10 Champions Route winners of the third qualifying round. League Route. 5 teams which entered in this round, and the 5 League Route winners of the third qualifying round. The draw was held on the 7th of August 2015. Notes summary. The first legs were played on 18 and the 19th of August, and the second legs were played on 25 and the 26th of August 2015. Matches. Astana won 2-1 on aggregate. Dinamo Zagreb won 6-2 on aggregate. Malmö FF won 4-3 on aggregate. 3-3 on aggregate. Maccabi Tel Aviv won on away goals. 2-2 on aggregate. Bate Borisov won on away goals. Bayer Leverkusen won 3-1 on aggregate. Manchester United won 7-1 on aggregate. CSKA Moscow won 4-3 on aggregate. Shakhtar Donetsk won 3-2 on aggregate. Valencia won 4-3 on aggregate. Statistics. There were 240 goals in 92 matches in the qualifying phase and playoff round, for an average of 2.61 goals per match. Top goal scorers. Source: UEFA.com. Top assists. Source: UEFA.com.